We're on UU time, so we're running a little late. But I think everybody's out of the lobby. John, you let me know when you're. All right, we're good. Okay, so good morning, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope you all had a really great Thanksgiving. Thank you so much for coming today, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Pottstown. I am Monica Buckley, and I will be leading today's service. I just want to say thank you so much for any new people. I don't see anybody that's new, but thank you, people out in the YouTube world, for checking us out. In Unitarian Universalism, you can bring your whole self, your full identity, your questioning mind, and your expansive heart. Together, we create a force more powerful than one person or one belief system. Unitarian Universalists do not have to let go of personal experiences, practices, or beliefs to be part of this community. We join together on a journey that honors all our individual backgrounds and experiences. We have no shared creed. Our beliefs are diverse and inclusive, and we can believe in more than one thing. We think for ourselves. What unites us is the broad and inclusive outlook, our shared values, and our shared experience. So welcome to all. I'm so glad you're here. So now it's time for announcements. And before we do that today, I just want to thank Linda Kazitsky and Chad Tarnicki for their information and content for the service. Our technology team, who for all they do for all of our services. Dr. John for his help with what he does before, during, and after services. And Kay and the choir, Lori's going to help us sing today. So thank you, Kay and Lori, and Irene for doing the children's story today. All right, any additional announcements? Come on.
Morning, everybody. I'm Clifford, and it's this coming Saturday morning that I will be making two different kinds of chocolate cakes right here in the kitchen and demoing the whole thing. And everyone will have a hand in doing it. First, I'll do a very American style old-fashioned devil sweet cake with espresso buttercream, and then a very French style dense chocolate tart with a creme anglaise custard sauce. Hope everyone comes.
Hi, I'm Diane. After Cliff makes chocolate cake with y'all, Saturday evening at 6 p.m. we are having our Yule ritual here in the sanctuary. Gatherings at 6. Everybody is welcome. Bring anybody you like to bring. It is appropriate for, I would say, for children 10 and up, as long as they don't get too bored too quick, because it's kind of a long ritual. But please come and celebrate Yule with us.
Morning, I'm Irene, and I just wanted to remind everybody that next week, second Sunday of the month, we will be having a sharing circle right after the service here. It started as an election sharing circle, but all are welcome to come and share whatever's in your mind, and I look forward to being there with all of you then. All right, thanks.
Would someone like to light the chalice? First stand up. Go ahead. Okay. Lauren Birkin, writing for the Jewish Theological Seminary, refers to a profound commentary on the lighting of the menorah in the tabernacle at the eternal light, which adorns the ark of every synagogue. Why has light been such a favorite symbol of God? Perhaps because light itself cannot be seen. We become aware of its presence when it enables us to see other things. Similarly, we cannot see God, but we become aware of God's presence when we see the beauty of the world, when we experience love and the goodness of our fellow human beings. So we're gonna take a moment of silence and just kind of get into your worship mode and listen for the chimes. Okay, our Our opening words for today come from Reverend Dr. Sherry Prudhomme. She has recently written reflections on all 7 of the shared principles. They do well to both provide context to the historical development of Unitarian Universalism, while also highlighting the progressive nature that promotes evolution and development of a theological worldview that analyzes being human in these cosmos, how we are related to all that is, including what is most sacred to us. In short, perhaps from the perspective of J.D. Stillwater, pluralism is part of the atheistic perspective. If you were here last week, you got to see his really great sermon on that. As Reverend Dr. Prudhomme writes, from the 3 theological moves our forebears made in forming Unitarian Universalism, understanding there is to be a divine spark in all beings, understanding God's love to embrace all and refusing to separate humankind after death into different groups, and turning to the world, human experience, and other religion of the world as a source of our evolving theological perspective. Our theology eventually grew to embrace a pluralism that those same forebears might not have thought imaginable. We declare that there are many paths to the sacred. We hold fast to the notion that one religion does not hold all the truth for all time, not even Unitarian Universalism. We maintain that a free, open, and respectful dialogue is one of the primary ways our theological perspectives evolve and grow. Unitarian Universalist theology evolved from its foundational beliefs in the divine spark within all beings, universal love and openness to diverse spiritual sources, eventually embracing pluralism and rejecting the notion that any one religion holds all truth. This growth incorporated marginalized voices, celebrated diversity, and fostered an ongoing commitment to multiculturalism, dialogue, and shared search for truth with love and respect. In short, we may not realize how much our pluralism impacts what we do here at UUFP. So today we are going to share some reflection questions and discuss our understanding of the principles. As JD pointed out last week, as he gave the 7 candles presentation, and he had met 2 people afterwards. One person said that JD's presentation was the best evidence he had ever heard for the evidence of God. And the next person thanked him for laying out a worldview that didn't require God at all. JD's response, as it seems to be with most things, was joy and amazement. What a wonderful example of a pluralistic view in action. So we're going to do our first hymn, and this is going to be a round. We did so well last week doing the round. I'm going to try it again. So this is number 1023 in the Teal hymnal. It's called Building Bridges. And what we're going to do is we're going to listen to the music first, one time. And then Lori's going to lead one group and I'm going to lead another group. Oh, sorry. We're going to sing. Yes, we're going to listen once, sing it together twice. And then I'm going to start this group. We're going to do it 3 times. And then Lori's going to lead this group 3 times. So we'll get it. I hope. All right.
Voices
So next is the story of all ages. Our congregation is so fortunate to have a large group of kiddos, so want to come down, please come down to the front. And Miss Irene is going to perform Room on a Broom today by Julia Donaldson. Yeah.
Have some visual aids today, so coming up.
I absolutely love this book.
Oh, I love it too. I know, I'm gonna do voices and everything here today. It's gonna be exciting. All right, how many kiddos do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. One for each beautiful stuffed animal, okay? All right. Let's see what we got here. Who would like a dragon today? Who wants a dragon? All right. You. There you go. Who would like a dog? Okay. Who would like a bird? Well, I'm sorry, it's not really from the story. So, all right, who would like a cat? Okay. And then we got a frog. All right. And Aria, thank you for being my helper today, okay? Room on a Broom. Who has read this book before? Wow, quite a few adults too. Wonderful. Well, it's a great book, and I think it fits right with the theme of pluralism because, well, you guys will see. I'm not going to spoil it for the rest of you who have not heard it yet. So, all right, there we are. And I'll do voices too. And I will encourage all of you who have a specific character, when I do invoke that character, you can bring them up and play with them and kind of get in a role playing of that particular animal that you guys have, okay? Without being too disruptive, okay? Okay. Room on a Broom by Julia Donaldson. The witch had a cat and a hat that was black. There we are. Wonderful. And long ginger hair in a braid down her back. How the cat purred and how the witch grinned as they sat on her broomstick and flew through the wind. But how the witch wailed and how the cat spat when the wind blew so wildly it blew off the hat. Oh no. Down, cried the witch as they flew to the ground. They searched for the hat, but no hat could be found. Then, out of the bushes, on thundering paws, there bounded a dog with the hat in his jaws. What does the dog say? Bark, exactly. There you go. He dropped it politely, then eagerly said, as the witch pulled the hat firmly down on her head, I am a dog as keen as can be. Is there room on a broom for a dog like me? Yes, cried the witch, and a dog clambered on. The witch tapped the broomstick. Whoosh, they were gone. Over the fields and the forest they flew. The dog wagged his tail, and the stormy wind blew. The witch laughed out loud and held onto her hat, but away blew the bow from her braid, just like that. Whoosh. Down, cried the witch, and they flew to the ground. They searched for the bow, but no bow could be found. Then out from a tree, with an ear-splitting shriek, there flapped a green bird with a bow in her beak. There she is. You want to do a shriek? Wonderful. There flapped a green bird with a bow in her beak. She dropped it politely and bent her head low, then said, as the witch tied her braid in a bow, is there room on a broom for a bird like me? Yes, cried the witch. So the bird fluttered on, the witch tapped the broomstick and whoosh, they were gone. Over the reeds and the rivers they flew, the bird shrieked with glee, and the stormy wind blew. They shot through the sky, to the back and beyond. The witch clutched her bow, but let go of her wand. Oh no. Down, cried the witch, and they flew to the ground. They searched for the wand, but no wand could be found. Then, all of a sudden, from out of a pond, leaped a dripping wet frog with a dripping wet wand. He dropped it politely, then said with a croak, as the witch dried the wand on a fold of her cloak, "Someone as clean as can be. Is there room in a broom for a froggy like me?" Yes, said the witch. So the frog bounded on. The witch tapped a broomstick and whoosh, they were gone. Over the moors and the mountains they flew. The frog jumped for joy and, oh no, the broom snapped in two. Down fell the cat and a dog and a frog. Down they went tumbling into a bog. The witch's half broomstick flew into a cloud, and the witch heard a roar that was scary and loud. Right, a roar? Wow, that was truly scary. Wonderful. I am a dragon as mean as can be, and witch with French fries taste delicious to me. Oh, cried the witch, flying higher and higher. The dragon flew after her, breathing on fire. Oh my goodness. Help, cried the witch, flying down to the ground. She looked all around, but no help could be found. The dragon drew near with a glint in his eyes and said, just this once, I'll have witch without fries. That's what you're gonna do, right? But just as he planned to begin on his feast, from out of a ditch rose a horrible beast. It was tall and dark and sticky and feathered and furred. It had 4 frightful hearts. It had wings like a bird. And its terrible voice, when it started to speak, was a yowl and a growl and a croak and a shriek. It dripped and it squelched as it sprang from the ditch and said to the dragon, buzz off, that's my wish. The dragon drew back and he started to shake. I'm sorry, he spluttered, I've made a mistake. It's nice to have met you, but never once fly. And he spread his wings and was off through the sky. There you are. Then down flew the bird and down jumped the frog. Down climbed the cat and phew, said the dog. And thank you, ungrateful witch cried. Without you, I'll be in a dragon's inside. Yeah. Then she filled up her cauldron and said with a grin, find something, everyone, throw something in. So the frog found a lily, the cat found a cone, the bird found a twig, and the dog found a bone. They threw it all in, and the witch stirred them well. And while she was stirring, she muttered a spell. Let's do it together. Iggity, ziggity, ziggity, zoom. Again. Iggity, ziggity, zaggity, zoom. Then up rose a truly magnificent broom. Yeah. Broom romp is coming next time, okay? With seeds for the witch, and the cat, and a dog, and nests for the bird, and a pool for the frog. Cried the witch as they all clambered on. The witch tapped a broomstick, and whoosh, they were gone. Yes. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you. So as we can sing the kids out. Thank you. I love that story. I read it to Cole like almost once a week. Okay, so now it's time for our offertory. So from food demonstrations and raffles to UUFP gear, sign for the gears out in the hallway, and giant cards, our little community has shown immense generosity this year. Our beloved John Dreesen always says, we are small but mighty, and growth and stability of this fellowship is a direct result of what everyone is willing to chip in. As John puts it, it takes your time and your talent and your treasure for that growth and stability to continue. So we thank you for whatever donations you can give us today. Yeah, you say that. So while he's passing that around, I just want to let you know Chad Towernicki was supposed to do this. So he wrote all of these things. So I'm just performing it for Chad. So he gets full credit for all of this. And he actually put together 5 discussion questions that we'll be going over later on. But he wanted to split the group up, but I think we're going to do it all together. So because we're lively enough, I think so. All right. So this is our third in our series of what it means to be a member of Unitarian Universalist faith. Our UUFP president, Linda, led our past sermons on the Unitarian Universalist values, and she so graciously stated before, I'm just a bozo on the bus, trying to figure it all out. So I too am like that. I'm a bozo on the bus, have tried to figure out how to get along in this crazy world. And like Linda, I am not an authority on the values either. So we're gonna work together and work through it. And I think from our shared experiences and our insight, we can really grow and learn from each other. And that's what's important. So I hope that you feel comfortable in sharing and asking any questions today. We're all friends here, and any insights that we, share can be gained and, from our combined perspectives. So, next slide will show, this is what the UUA says for pluralism. So it says, we celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. We covenant to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. So our first question is, there we go. They're kind of long, but I will read them and then we can discuss. We all come from a variety of religious upbringings. Often our experience is defined as negative reaction to this upbringing, citing things like guilt or differences of opinion and interpretation of scripture that pushed us away. What about the positives? How were certain principles similar or informative to your UU experience? Anyone wants to think about that, then maybe share. I have a microphone, or you can just talk really loudly. So basically, what are the positives of your maybe religious or non-religious upbringing that we can talk about? Yeah.
My name is Anne. I was raised Catholic, so guilt was my middle name for many years. And positive is that, I have a strong moral compass, and I believe it's because I was able to focus in on Christ's message. And I think that the Catholic Church, I figured this out in high school, that they have strayed from Christ's message. And, he was all about love. And I'm not here to like Jesus everything, but that's a definite positive.
Hi, I'm Lori. I was raised in the Episcopal Church and sang in the choir back then. Some of the things I remember, I remember questioning dogma early on, but some of the things that were positive, I think, that I've valued as I've gotten older are that there were women in leadership positions even back then when I was a child. The Episcopal Church is known for being somewhat rebellious. There have been some schisms even recently between the faction of the church that wants to, for instance, allow gay marriage and the faction that doesn't. But I think there were very many positives in my, I appreciate the rebellion in the Episcopal Church. And I appreciate the togetherness we had at the time and the fact that there were women in leadership at the time.
I'm Judy, and I was raised a Protestant in the Presbyterian Church. My family had a lot of religious people. My grandfather was a minister to 3 Presbyterian churches out in Western Pennsylvania. My mother's brother was a Presbyterian minister. They actually turned Methodist. And so as a child, you just accept that's your religion. We went to different churches, and whenever we moved, it was always to a Presbyterian church. And when we moved down here when I was 8 or 9, my parents had it and said, we're going to be searching for a religion that lets us think and choose our own way. And they chose the Wilmington Unitarian Church down there in Delaware. And I think I had never realized that you could choose a religion. It was just something
that happened to you as a child and you were taken there and that was that. And I still have many friends that can't think about moving their religion, even though they don't believe most of the stuff in there. But my parents, because they wanted to search for a place that didn't force them to believe anything, taught that search, that seeking of knowledge to me.
So I was raised United Methodist, which is a lovely liberal tradition among mainstream Protestants. But when I hit 20, I wound up sucked into or pushed into fundamentalist Baptists. Spent a couple of years in a fundamentalist Baptist school. I lovingly refer to that as my time in the wasteland. And then I became a witch, and in the last year and a half, I found this fellowship, which I enjoyed. So now I am a witch and a UU. The commonality between all of those things, even the Baptists, was community and love, as it was interpreted by whichever organization, whichever group I was with. I'm really glad to be here. I'm really glad to be a part of my witchcraft tradition. And I have very fond memories of my Methodist upbringing, and again, love and community were the commonalities. I could talk forever about the negatives, specifically of the extreme militant fundamentalist community, but I prefer not to think about that as much as possible anymore. So love and community are the commonalities that I find.
Miranda.
I was raised in Massachusetts, and my father worked for the DuPont company. We were moved a couple of times during my childhood, so he was transferred. Every time we moved, my dad, who was also a musician, he was a singer, he would choose the church that we were going to go to, and it was always the church with the best music. So people who have been in our classes know that. So, and it didn't matter what it was. It did not matter. It was whatever church had the best music, and he was this gregarious person who just enjoyed everyone. And he was so open about religion, just whatever, it's wonderful, to do what you want, but let's make some glorious music. And so the funny thing is that, so later in my life, I was introduced to Unitarian Universalism. And because of his sort of ecumenical attitude, and then didn't he become a Unitarian Universalist because of me?
Oh,
So, yeah,
that's
yeah.
cool. Anybody else?
Excuse me, I was raised in Massachusetts as well by liberal Catholics, which I think are about as extinct as the dinosaurs.
My grandmother's a liberal Catholic, so.
The positive side of it was my parents exemplified me desire for learning and for political engagement and trying to make the world a better place, and also an embracement of diversity. So these are things that are still motivating me to contribute to my parents.
Anybody else? Oh, Dr. John.
Speaking from the back, so I grew up in the Jewish faith, as many of you knew. It was the religion of generations of my family on both sides, going back to the old country, which was Estonia, Lithuania, as far as I know. It was a conservative version of Judaism, which, as you may know, is the middle ground between Orthodox, where all the rules are followed, Reform, where a few of the rules are followed, just the most essential. I kind of enjoyed my time and the warmth of being in a community of people where I began in our temple when we moved to the community in age 5 until I was off to college at age 18. The concepts of Judaism were time honored and the basis of a great deal of the goodness in the world. But when I went off to college and beyond, I never really wanted to go to temple. It was something I just did because it was, quote, religious. That is the secular word, which means you just do it mindlessly. And that's what I had done. When I had time to think about it, I didn't really see the redeeming value of doing that. At a very negative time of my life, I happened to walk into a Lutheran service just once, just because I was looking for something different. Didn't persist, but I also opened up the New Testament, which in Judaism was like, God forbid you did that. And I realized here's a much more liberal view of God as a loving God, as opposed to the Old Testament God, who's kind of a nasty, punitive male figure. And that eventually led to the need to find a religious home, which began in Reading back in '92 and here in 2007. I kind of got a sense of what it was all about because in the first UU in Reading, which was a universalist church before the amalgamation, on the pulpit is engraved, God is love. And I said, now I think I understand what this is all, what religion could be all about. My mother, by the way, tangentially had said when I was much younger that if she couldn't be following the Jewish faith, this was before the amalgamation, she would be universalist. Oddly enough, here I am.
Next question is, what challenges might arise when engaging with theological perspectives that differ greatly from our own? And how can we navigate them with respect and curiosity? Can you respect what someone else's religious perspectives bring to their life? When do you struggle most, when do you struggle most with accepting someone else's religious views? I'll share on this one because this actually happened to me recently. I actually kind of struggled with this situation, like I think throughout my life, but I'm very like, no, this is how it is. And I think like after, just maturing and growing up, like when you're a kid, I think like you kind of get into like, not a militarized way of thinking, but things are black and white, like there's no gray. And like, as you mature, like, you can see like, oh, there's different perspectives and things. I was at a bachelorette party this summer and one of the women, we were at a spa and there was some downtime and we were talking and two of the people were talking about their churches that they go to. And I was like, oh, I go to this Unitarian Universalist church. And they were like, oh, and they were like Baptist and they were just like talking about very Christian theology and they were going into a whole bunch of stuff. And instead of like, I was just remained curious. I just kept asking questions. And I think it helped me to just kind of shut up and listen. I think I've always struggled with that, just being quiet and listening sometimes. And I think that just allowed me to like, I wasn't exposing myself in a way where it was like they were gonna come at me because I knew I was never gonna change their minds, but like I was just remaining curious and like talking about, oh, well, I mentioned, oh, well, Christianity is part of Unitarian Universalism. It's one of our, the documents that we look to and things like that. So, but just remaining curious and not like it allowed me to not feel defensive, I guess. I don't know. So. Anybody else want to share?
Laurie again. I like to tell the story of when I was younger. I used to have a comic on my bulletin board of work that had a picture of a church, and the sign of the church was, we're the church of, we're right and everyone else is wrong. And I think that I have the most trouble with accepting someone else's views when I feel like my feeling is that it impacts other people's justice, when it impacts social justice, other people's abilities to express who they are or what they believe. And I'm perfectly okay not having all the answers. I'm very comfortable with that. But I think it bothers me most when other people's rights are impacted.
Yeah.
I've noticed that when presented with an opinion that is, or a belief system, whether from that pulpit or elsewhere, that is specifically contradictory to what I believe and very skeptical about what I believe, it's very easy to take offense and to feel insulted. And it's really important when those feelings creep up to sit back and be quiet and listen and understand that somebody else's perspective can be completely different from mine. That does not mean they're attacking me. That does not mean that I am not welcome. That does not mean that I am anything less than because of my belief system. I am equal to, I may be extremely different, but my values and my beliefs are no less worthy than theirs. Defensiveness is the enemy of pluralism and community. I can be in community with people who believe completely differently from me and share my beliefs just like they can share theirs. Openness, being able to listen to somebody with a completely different viewpoint is really important, and defensiveness is definitely the enemy.
It brought to mind something that I read a few days ago that said, judgment impedes empathy. And just empathy and the ability to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, if you're already decided that one of you is right and one of you is wrong, completely negates it. So it just, interesting, you just brought that home to me, because I've been noodling on that thought for a while.
I think I had a, when I was growing up, had an automatic built-in belief in agreeing with other people's religious beliefs or accepting other people's religious beliefs because of my best friend was growing up. And so, I mean, my first thoughts were, oh, you know, my Christian religion says in the strictest sense, anybody who doesn't believe in Jesus is going to hell. That's, you know, and I was like, no, I can't accept that. And, you know, my friend who has different beliefs than me, the fact that she's not worthy, no, absolutely not. But the other thing that other point, lost my train of thought. Oh, okay. So I think I struggle a lot with accepting other people's religious beliefs in history. I really developed a love of history as an adult, and looking back on, you know, all of the problems in the world that have been created by people who have really strong religious beliefs. You know, there's Crusades, the Inquisition, like you can just go on and on and on. And I really struggled with, you know, oh, they just didn't believe the right things. If they believe the right things, the world would be a much different place. But I mean, that's history, that's behind us, and I struggle to understand that.
So, oh, you can tell it again. I can have been kind of oppositional. If you don't believe what I believe, or you cross me, I can tend to want to kind of have at it and go after people. But that was tested recently because a woman in our over 55 community passed away, and I kind of encountered a daughter who was trying to clean out the house and offered my condolences on the death of her mother. And she responded, basically, well, I'm born again. I know she's in heaven, and kind of basically went on, that's that, and kind of, she wasn't arguing with me, but she was giving me her view of religion. I could easily have said that's a pretty narrow, fossilized view, but I didn't. And I think partly that's from being here, where we're all coming together and accepting the fact, and I could walk away and say, well, and that's her belief, and she's entitled to that, and as long as she does good in the world, it all comes out in the end.
All right, our third question is, Here at UUFP, we have a very strong UU curriculum that we share with our children in RE class. What responsibilities do we have to educate ourselves and our children about the diverse religious and cultural traditions we celebrate? I feel like this is probably like the most, I think, I'm probably speaking for everybody, but I think we all feel like our RE is super important and we're all constantly seeking and educating ourselves in different ways, like at home and not just here. I mean, we come here every week to hear different speakers on different topics, and I think that's how I educate myself on a lot of different things. I also try to listen to like other news things that maybe don't lean the way I do, but I like to listen to different perspectives because I think that's really important. Because social justice is so important to me. So I have family that are very right wing and like, so just trying to like understand like, okay, why? Why do you feel that way? But I think I have 3 boys, so raising them with like openness enough that they can question things. My middle child, Tyson, I'm divorced, so he is with his dad sometimes, and his dad and his partner are Christians and they go to a Christian church, and my oldest is an atheist. So it's like, I've got 2 very, and then I'm like the pagan, like UU person in the middle. And then Cole, you know, who knows what he's gonna be. But I think like exposing them to things and just asking them to question constantly, I think is really important. And I think that teaching kids how to think logically and critically is, I think, what a lot of our RE curriculum's about, and like exposing kids to other religions. Like we talk about, you know, we do our pagan holidays here. We did our Christmas celebration, 2 years ago. We did like this big thing with all different winter celebrations for our service, and the kids were involved. So we're always trying to like give them bits and pieces. And I think allowing our kids to have adults that they can talk to that aren't just their parents, to be like, oh, I've got questions about this. What do you think about this? And then, you know, I think that's really important for our kids too. So it's not just like hearing it from mom and dad all the time. They've got resources. Go ahead, Kim.
I think just setting a good example, or setting an example of your life and how you raise your children. They see that. You don't have to teach them. You must be nice to these people. You need to accept those people. If you're doing it, they see it. Kids see it. They feel the environment in your household. That to me, setting an example is a very important part.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tom.
Examining my blind spots and then educating myself on what they might be. Somehow last year I got sucked into this, you know how the algorithms of social media will pick up on things that you paid attention to this thing once or twice, and then it starts feeding you.
Yeah.
Right, so last year I wound up in an algorithm where it was feeding me tons of information about Islam by Muslims. And it was fascinating. So many of my preconceived ideas about what Islam is, totally, completely wrong and off, like, it was serious education on my own blind spots and my assumptions. And so I've sought out different voices. I followed I followed a 40-ish-year-old sociology professor who happens to be a Black man, and he's incredibly articulate, and he presents things from a specifically Black male perspective. So not just female voices of various colors, cultures, religious ideals, but also slightly different perspective. Like, I'm about as far from a Black man as you can get.
I'm a middle-aged white chick. It's just who I happen to be. It's not necessarily how I identify. But I love watching FD, his internet name, if you're interested, is FD Signifier. And he's put me onto books. I had never heard of Bell Hooks. Any of the feminists in this room probably do know who she is. I didn't know who she was. Now I've read a whole pile of her books because I wanted to know her perspective. And examining your blind spots and being willing to educate yourself about different points of view that are absolutely not yours, but you might discover that you share a lot more with people from of that perspective, of different perspectives than your own, if you just shut up and listen. And one of the lovely things about the internet is I don't have to engage in conversation, I just have to listen. And I find that very helpful. So yeah, educating yourself about your blind spots and being curious about how other people think and experience the world. And yes, I think that exposing children to lots of different thoughts and ideas is important. Because that's the only way they get to make an informed decision about their own life as they grow.
I haven't been involved in the curriculum that we're teaching today very much for years, but in the past, we've taught the children, the classes have been about things like, what are the rituals and traditions in this other faith? And also, what are the commonalities, between faiths that are bring people together or show our common humanity. But I think one of the things in our culture today is that, we love to be entertained, and we love shallow, unedited information. So I feel like one of the things we have a responsibility to do is teach our children to think critically. Have the abilities to think critically about the information that they're seeing, and to make educated decisions about what they want to believe.
Good exercise.
Yeah, you're getting your steps in. Tip O'Neill said that all politics is local. I'm involved somewhat with the Northern Chester County Democrats. And I was reading an email from them just this morning talking about people, how they're asking people to run for the school board for O.J. Roberts. And I think every other election, there are a certain number of seats that are running, and then the people who were elected the last time are still there, all of that stuff. But in this email, they were saying we have to counteract the Moms for Liberty for two reasons. One is that if they get into O.J. Roberts, oh my God, what are they going to teach the kids? So I think it's really important that, I'm so glad that we have and I say RE, even though I'm not a member yet, but that we have RE here to counterbalance that bullshit. And also, in the incoming administration, they may do away with the Department of Education. And then where will we be? So to get back to Tip O'Neill, all politics is local, and we can at least do something like that. I'm not going to run myself, but I would encourage any of you. I met Paul Friel a number of years ago. He decided to run because he had two daughters in the middle school, and in science class, one of the teachers said to one of his daughters, well, you take notes because you're a girl, right? I'm a civil engineer. that stuff makes me crazy to know that it's still happening. So Moms for Liberty.
I belong to their mailing list because I want to like keep a watch on their like who they're putting in, so I like joined them just so I could like spy. All right, we'll do one more question. We're gonna skip to number 5. So say hypothetically, a person from Connect Church wanders through our door with a Bible in hands and wants to give our service a try for a change. How would we engage in a respectful way to not only accept their perspectives, but support their beliefs as part of their own journey? Oh, next slide. There you go.
I actually did have this come up probably about a few years ago, and we had a very nice older lady come in. And she wanted to know when we were gonna say the Lord's Prayer. And I had to, kind of tell her that, we don't promote any certain religion here. We're all on our own journey, and I don't know if I ever really got through to her. But she really expected, a service that had dogma, where we would tell people what they should believe. And I think that's the hard part, if they're seeking that. I think they're not gonna really find it here. I mean, they can believe whatever they want, but we're not going to tell them what to believe. So that's sort of my perspective on just make sure that they understand that we accept, that we have the principles. We accept anybody's beliefs. They can believe whatever they want on their own journey, but we don't stand up there and tell people what to believe.
I think I really appreciate the greeters in the morning and like the membership committee, because you guys really set the tone for everybody that is new and coming in. And like I think that like you having to handle that like right on the fly like that, like I think is so important. And I think like as a congregation, like providing you guys like information if you need it, or like training or whatever, like you already do a great job. But like if there's anything more we could give to you guys as a whole, I think would be good, because I mean, the next 4 years is gonna be weird, but we're gonna probably have more people coming through the door trying to figure out like, hey, I heard about this religion, like, what is this? And like, so we might have more new people. So like, but I just really appreciate like the task that you guys have, like greeting, and because if somebody comes in and I'm like, I don't know, go ask them, so they're a membership committee. But so yeah, I really appreciate that role here. So thank you.
Speaking as a greeter, number one, I would tell people that one of our, I don't know where we stand on the 7 prior principles, but one is that we derive our piece of our knowledge from the Judeo-Christian traditions and the wise books of the Judeo-Christian tradition, and thus from Jesus Christ. Although we don't worship him, we respect him as a person to be listened to. So I would begin with that, saying that's not our only belief, but we are inclusive and we're not disparaging or not dealing with that at all. We will find that in our services, as you would in your own church, but those ethics are embedded in us from the past and in the future. And the other thing, like I said, I would greet people with love and say, that's our core value, is love and acceptance of people. And if you can deal with that thought and fit in here, then that's great.
Yeah, these alternative churches, I guess, meaning them not Catholic and not traditional traditional Protestant churches like Lutheran, Methodist and all, but these alternate churches like Connect Church drive me bananas, because I have friends who belong to some of those churches, and I know that they're accepting and because they accept my family, And I have a transgender daughter and, I know that they're not just paying lip service to me, that they are okay with that. They're okay with not reading scripture and just saying, oh, whatever scripture says is that's what it is. And so, but they belong to these churches, and I feel like, have you ever gone to their website? And to a certain extent, I Google stalk. I look at their website, it's like, yeah, when you look at their mission statement, they're like, scripture's the way it is, there's no other way, and everybody else, go jump in the lake. And I feel like these people that I know that don't necessarily believe that are members of these churches. So what I try to think of is that, like when I was growing up with a Methodist church, I didn't necessarily blanket take for granted everything that they told me. And I believed some of it, and I took those things to heart, and other things I was just like, no, I'm not sure about that. And I feel like, I hope that my friends who are in this church maybe belong in the church to be part of a community and do good in the world and all the rest of those things. And they're the same way that they maybe say, okay, I take some of this and other parts I dismiss. So if these churches are made up of people that don't necessarily believe the core mission statement of this church, then they can be part of our group, because I mean, that we shouldn't dismiss them because they don't necessarily, it's not black and white. I don't know whether I'm saying this right.
No, it's fine. I'm gonna play devil's advocate real quick. What if there was a situation where someone was they were a guest or whatever, and they were being negative, and we felt, would we ask them to leave? Would we ever do that? I've had an experience here, but I had them past religious experiences, and I had to be like, dude, you gotta go. So, I mean, I don't know if we would ever how would we handle a situation like that?
I mean, we have a policy for disruptive people,
Yeah.
but people having different points of views. Were you used?
Yeah.
It's fair game. But
I was thinking that you could very carefully let them know that if they had this idea that there was a certain thing that you had to believe, they maybe weren't going to be happy to that.
well, yeah, and that's, I was gonna say, first of all, you could substitute anything, you know.
Yeah.
You could use the example Connect Church walking.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that we as UUs need to do is not assume. That statement immediately probably took a lot of people to, oh my God, born again, Bible thumper, versus who knows, right? So we need to remain curious about them as individuals. Hi, why did you come in? What do you know about Unitarian Universalists, right? Find out more about them. Allow them to experience, allow them to ask the question versus us preaching the benefits of being a UU. I think that's the biggest thing we can, and that's showing respect. I respect you as an individual. I don't know why you're walking in here with the Bible. Maybe you find it as a good book. There are some very, for some people, heartfelt stories in there that mean a lot, that have gotten through hard times. So I think we continue to, we welcome, we don't make any assumptions about people walking in the doors. Answer questions honestly, be careful, it's not my version of Unitarian Universalism, because that's going to be different from Diane's, which is going to be different from mine, that's right. And if we do share it, here's what I get out of it, versus I speak for all of Unitarian Universalism. I think that's how we become more inclusive, and you know, we need to remain curious about each other and find out why they walked in and why are you carrying, and not why are you carrying the Bible. It's like, why do you carry the Bible? You know? So
I like it. All right, we're gonna, because we're in the times. Does anybody, anybody? Okay. Do we want to do the last song? Oh, you want to? Okay. All right, so the last song is, thank you everyone for participating. The last one is number 145, As Tranquil Streams, in your hymnal. Right hymnal. Can someone Ed, would you like to extinguish our flame for us today? Okay, so our extinguishing our chalice, we'll say this in unison. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community before the fire of our commitment. These be carried in our hearts until we are together again. So my closing words are a poem by Mary Oliver. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean, this one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention and how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I have been doing all day long. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what do you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? The poem invites us into a tender and awe-filled observation of the natural world, calling forth a sense of reverence without prescribing a single pathway to express it. In its simplicity, it embodies the essence of pluralism. The recognition that the divine, the sacred, and the profoundly meaningful may manifest itself differently for each of us. As we reflect on these closing lines, let us honor the diverse ways people engage with life's mysteries, whether through traditional prayer, attentive observation, or an unnamed connection with the world around us. Every path holds value and can teach us about our own course. Supporting others in their unique spiritual journey is a way of honoring the wild and precious individuality of each person. In doing so, we affirm that there is no singular way to approach the profound question posed by the poem. What will we do with this one wild and precious life? Let us encourage one another to live attentively, authentically, and with open hearts, making space for the myriad ways people find meaning, purpose, and grace. Thank you. Go eat food.